There's no doubt that the new monarchs of the United Kingdom are in their twilight years.
According to Camilla's royal aides, she in fact hated the idea of being queen and would regularly say to...
Was King Charles having a secret royal meltdown in front of thousands of onlookers?
Camilla is said to be strategizing against Harry and Meghan amid so-called peace talks.
Back now with the GMA cover story, Queen Camilla's son's new interview about his mother and her decades-long
scandal. Camilla's great-grandmother was Edward VII's mistress, Mrs. Alice Keppel.
She was the villain. She was the third person in the marriage. She needed
a muscle when Camilla passes. And that was because they were angry with Camilla.
One, a commoner, destined against all odds to become queen.
Royal biographer Tom Bower. The Princess of Wales is reportedly furious with the Queen over the coronation guest list.
For decades, one question sat at the very center of the British monarchy. Unresolved, uncomfortable, and impossible to ignore. It wasn't the question being shouted from tabloid front pages. It wasn't the public row over titles, or the years of speculation about what Camilla Parker Bowles would eventually be called. Those were the surface arguments, the ones meant for public consumption. The real question was quieter and far more dangerous. What would happen to the crown if the British public never truly accepted Camilla? Royal author Tom Quinn spent years gathering the answer. He spoke with hundreds of former and current palace staff members for his book, Yes, Ma'am, The Secret Life of Royal Servants, published in March 2025. What those conversations revealed wasn't simply a story about a woman reluctant to wear a crown. It was something deeper. A portrait of Queen Elizabeth working behind the scenes against a fear she almost never acknowledged out loud. The fear that one unresolved question about her son's wife could fracture the very institution she had given her entire life to protect. If you want more deep dives like this, make sure to subscribe to Royal Archives. Because here's what most people don't fully understand about the Camilla story. It has always been framed as a love story. Two people who wouldn't give up on each other, no matter the obstacles. And there is truth in that framing. But underneath it runs a completely different story. One about a queen who understood the stakes better than anyone, and who spent the final chapter of her reign making sure the worst outcome never arrived. To understand what the Queen feared, you need to go back to where the problem was born. Charles and Camilla had known each other since the early 1970s. By most accounts, the connection was immediate and real, but the palace of that era had its own ideas about who the future king should marry. And Camilla Parker Bowles, already involved with someone else, did not fit the picture. Charles joined the Royal Navy. The relationship paused. Camilla married Andrew Parker Bowles in 1973, and Charles eventually was steered toward a younger, more traditionally suitable candidate. Diana Spencer was 19 years old when she married Prince Charles at St. Paul's Cathedral in July 1981. The wedding was watched by 750 million people worldwide. What almost nobody watching knew, though Diana herself suspected it, was that just 2 weeks before she walked down that aisle, Charles had sent Camilla an engraved bracelet bearing their private nicknames for one another. Diana recalled finding it. She described being devastated. The marriage was, from very early on, a marriage in trouble. By 1986, according to Charles's authorized biographer Jonathan Dimbleby, Charles and Camilla had resumed their relationship while both were still married to other people. In 1989, Diana confronted Camilla directly at a party. By the early 1990s, the marriage between Charles and Diana had collapsed so completely that the Queen herself, according to palace records, wrote to both of them recommending an early divorce. In 1992, Andrew Morton's book Diana, Her True Story, brought the full picture into the open. In 1995, Diana sat down with the BBC's Martin Bashir for a panorama interview, watched by more than 23 million people. She looked directly into the camera and said the line that would define the era. "There were 3 of us in this marriage." That line didn't fade, it calcified, and it became the lens through which the British public saw Camilla Parker Bowles for the next decade and beyond. Diana died in Paris on August 31st, 1997. She was 36 years old, In the hours and days that followed, the grief that swept across Britain was unlike anything the modern monarchy had faced. Flowers piled up outside Kensington Palace by the millions. People who had never met Diana stood in silence outside the gates. The public mourning was raw and, in places, angry. The royal family's response in those first days, the Queen remaining at Balmoral, no flag flying at half-mast over the palace, was read by many as cold, as indifferent. The backlash was fierce and immediate. Charles was not universally blamed, but Camilla was. The woman already cast as the villain in Diana's story now found herself associated, unfairly, but powerfully, with the circumstances that had left Diana isolated, divorced, and ultimately dead in a Paris tunnel. Public anger that had nowhere clean to land settled on her. Biographer Christopher Anderson put it bluntly, "In the aftermath of Diana's death, Camilla became, in his words, the most hated woman in England, if not the world. She withdrew almost entirely from public life. She didn't attend Diana's funeral. She barely appeared in public at all. Aides described the period as deeply unpleasant for everyone around her. Inside the palace, something called Operation PB was reportedly put into motion. PB for Parker Bowles, a long-term image rehabilitation effort, carefully managed, designed to gradually reintroduce Camilla into public life in a way that would allow sentiment to shift, slowly, organically, without forcing anything. Every step was tested. Every public appearance was calculated for risk before it happened. The first visible test came in January 1999. Charles and Camilla left an event at the Ritz Hotel in London together. They walked out side by side. Photographers captured it. The world's press ran the pictures. The reaction, while mixed, was not the explosion some had anticipated. It was a beginning, small, deliberate, and entirely intentional. That careful, calibrated public appearance had been the result of years of behind-the-scenes preparation, every detail considered, every risk assessed, every timing decision made with one eye on the public mood. The Queen watched all of it. She said almost nothing publicly. She attended no briefings about it that were ever recorded. But inside the palace, staff observed her following the trajectory with the attention of someone who understood that the outcome of this question would outlast her own reign. Tom Quinn's book draws on accounts from staff who observed the Queen during these years, and what those accounts describe is not indifference. What they describe is a monarch tracking a problem with the precision of someone who understood exactly how much it could cost her. For years, the Queen had maintained a deliberate distance from Camilla. Royal biographer Sean Smith documented that the two women had met privately only twice before the Queen Mother's funeral in April 2002. That occasion marked a turning point. Camilla attended quiet and deferential, positioned carefully in the background. Smith recorded that, ahead of the appearance, Camilla had spent half an hour alone with the Queen and Charles at the palace. The conversation was private. The conclusion was not. The Queen had decided this was the moment to begin absorbing Camilla into the family's public life. But absorbing someone into the family was one thing, crowning her was another. The Queen's reluctance to formally acknowledge Camilla during these years was not, according to those who knew her, rooted in personal dislike. By the time Camilla married Charles in April 2005, the Queen had come to respect her. She did not attend the civil ceremony. As head of the Church of England, she felt it was inappropriate given that both were divorced, but she attended the blessing at Windsor Castle that followed. The message was deliberate, controlled, calibrated. What the Queen feared was not Camilla the person. It was Camilla the symbol. Specifically, what Camilla, as Queen Consort, would represent to a section of the public that had never fully processed Diana's death, and never fully forgiven the circumstances that preceded it. The fear, at its core, was this. If Charles ascended to the throne with a Queen Consort the public hadn't accepted, the damage would not stop at Camilla. It would spread to Charles. And through Charles, it would reach the institution itself. The monarchy's authority had always rested not on law alone, but on something more fragile: public trust. The kind of trust that cannot be legislated. The kind that, once lost, doesn't return quickly. That was what kept the question open for so long. Not indecision, not sentiment. Fear of what the wrong answer, announced too soon, could permanently cost. What made the calculation harder was Camilla's own position on the matter. Tom Quinn's book is direct about this. Staff recalled Camilla telling Charles, more than once, that she did not want the title. The words attributed to her by an unnamed aide who spoke with Quinn were not diplomatic. "I don't want to be queen because it's too much focus, too much attention on me." She had spent decades navigating life beneath the surface of royal visibility. After everything, the affair, the public vilification, Diana's death, the years of carefully managed rehabilitation, she had built something that resembled a private life, and she valued it deeply. Charles's response, according to the same account, was simple and firm. "You're going to do it for me, darling." But Camilla's reluctance was more than preference. It was, in a strange and revealing way, its own version of the Queen's fear. Both women understood what public rejection looked like. Camilla had experienced it directly, at a scale few people ever face. The Queen had watched it reshape the monarchy around her for 30 years. Both of them knew the public mood could not be ordered or commanded. It had to be earned. The difference was in what they each believed should happen next. Camilla wanted to stay below the waterline, to remain quietly useful without becoming a target again, to avoid handing the Diana loyalists. Still vocal, still organized online well into the 2000s. Another reason to come at her. The Queen had a different view entirely. She believed the question had to be settled, and settled definitively on terms that left no room for debate afterward. The longer the uncertainty persisted, the more dangerous it became. Speculation fed tabloid coverage fed public anxiety, and public anxiety sustained long enough became the thing the monarchy feared most, a slow erosion of the consent that held the institution together. She was going to close the door. The only question was when. The answer came on the evening of February 5th, 2022. It was the eve of the 70th anniversary of Queen Elizabeth's accession to the throne, the start of her Platinum Jubilee year. The statement she released that night was, by the measured standards of royal communication, extraordinary. "It is my sincere wish," the Queen wrote, "that when that time comes, Camilla will be known as Queen Consort." Two things made the statement impossible to challenge. The first was its source. This was not a palace aide briefing journalists. It was not a carefully worded suggestion designed to test the waters. It was the Queen herself, in her own name, expressing a personal wish in the most public form she had available, a letter to the nation marking 7 decades of service. The second was its timing. Nobody was going to publicly contradict the most respected monarch in modern British history on the anniversary of 70 years on the throne. The Platinum Jubilee placed the statement beyond argument. Whatever anyone privately thought about Camilla's path to the title, whatever residual feeling remained about Diana, about the affair, about the years of public hostility, none of it could be voiced in that moment without appearing to attack the Queen herself. Royal historian Robert Lacey understood exactly what had been done. He told reporters, "The Queen is such a realist. She's got a business to run. And this really brings Camilla into the firm properly, now and for the future." According to Angela Levin, who was writing a biography of Camilla at the time, the decision itself had actually been made privately between the Queen and Charles around 5 years earlier. What the February 2022 statement did was not announce a decision. It closed off every remaining path to a different one. 7 months later, on September 8, 2022, Queen Elizabeth died at Balmoral. Charles became king. Camilla became Queen Consort by constitutional operation, exactly as the Queen had arranged. And on May 6, 2023, she was crowned Queen Camilla at Westminster Abbey in a ceremony watched by millions, wearing a reworked crown originally made for Queen Mary in 1911. The public resistance that had dominated 2 decades of tabloid debate had not disappeared entirely, but it had transformed. Polls taken around the coronation showed approval ratings for Camilla at levels that would have seemed inconceivable in 2005. The organized hostility of the Diana years had largely dissolved, not because people forgot, but because Camilla had spent nearly 2 decades doing something that cannot be faked. She showed up. She worked. She stood beside Charles quietly and consistently through every controversy the family faced, and she never asked for credit. Tom Quinn's conclusion, drawn from the staff who watched all of this unfold from inside the institution, is that the outcome was not inevitable. It was built carefully, patiently, over a very long time, by a queen who understood that leaving the question unresolved would eventually cost more than settling it ever could. What the queen feared was not scandal. She had lived through enough scandals to understand that institutions survive them. What she feared was something quieter and harder to fix, a fractured succession. A king whose consort carried a permanent question mark into Westminster Abbey, a public that never gave its full consent, and a monarchy that spent its next generation paying for it. That fear is what drove the calculation, the deliberate rehabilitation, the slow accumulation of appearances, patronages, and public moments designed to reframe who Camilla was, not who she had been. The careful distance the queen maintained in public, even as she made decisions privately that pointed in only one direction. And ultimately, the February 2022 statement that settled the matter so completely that no one could reopen it. Quinn's portrait of the palace during these years is of an institution that knew exactly what it was managing, and a queen who refused, in the end, to leave the hardest question for someone else to answer. Camilla is queen, not because the public demanded it, because Queen Elizabeth decided in the final chapter of her reign that the monarchy could not afford for the answer to be anything else. The staff who watched it happen, and who spoke to Tom Quinn in confidence, say the fear was never really about Camilla as an individual. It was about what happens to a crown when the people stop believing the person wearing it belongs there. And the queen, who had spent 70 years earning exactly that belief for herself, was not prepared to let that question hang unanswered over the institution she left behind. If this story revealed something you hadn't considered before, subscribe to Royal Archives for more. The full history of the monarchy, its private fears, its careful calculations, its moments of quiet decision, is still being told.